Hello, you're listening to the Nii Lamptey Show. This week I'm joined by Neil.
Hello.
And by very, very special guest, Gael Bigirimana.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
What an absolute joy. Fantastic. Yeah, okay. First on the list that I've been asking everybody recently, how are you dealing with isolation?
Yeah, trying to get on with life as much as possible that I can get in with, really. Obviously nothing can't go and visit like people and family and friends, and obviously nothing much to do, but the little that you can do, you're trying to do that. Just go out to a park and do some fitness work, and go out in the garden, spend time with the family.
Because I was going to say, have you got a young child or young children?
Yeah. So obviously my daughter, as everybody, as obviously majority of Cov fans will remember from the check and trade. So my daughter was born the day before that.
Yeah.
And my son, my youngest boy, has just been born recently. So he was born 27th of November.
Oh wow.
Last so just the so in 2019. So there's two of them now. So
driving you insane, perhaps. That's the only thing with young children and the isolation
you can't hide from them.
Yeah, right, okay. So
you can't hide from them, but I think it's you have to take the positive out of it. I think I don't think I can't see when this sort of opportunity will ever come again in the near future, where you can get time to really spend time with your family. Like this situation sort of gives the opportunity. So gotta make most of it, because obviously as footballers, you most of the time you're traveling, and you get little time spending with them. So for me, and I think for every footballer, they'll probably see it as as difficult as it is, and annoying as it is, people can't go out. But the good things about it and the positive things is, you get to spend that quality time with your kids and your partners.
Well, do you know what? That is kind of the... So we will remember you sort of, your very first season at the club, and actually the level of positivity that came out of you during that time was something that we always remember. But it's nice to be able to start the podcast off with something very, very similar there. Right, okay, so the first question I wanted to ask you then, so you grew up in Burundi, is that right?
Yes.
Let me ask you,
where I was born.
How did you come to move to Coventry specifically?
Yeah, well, basically, so my mom, she came by herself. She went to Belgium, and then she moved to England. And then obviously we, after 2 years, I think 2 years, 2 years and a half, we followed. So she first from Belgium. She first came to, I think, was London, and then they told her that there's actually few people from Burundi in Coventry, so she came here.
Is that true, or was that just a lie? Was that just a way of getting it? Is there a Burundi community in Coventry?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's all different communities from. I
was going to say, I suppose,
from African nations.
That's one of the good things about Coventry, I suppose, is that it is so diverse like that, isn't it? So I suppose it's got representation from everywhere. Yeah, okay. So that's
absolutely, definitely. Yeah.
And then I guess on the football side of things, there's a really famous story about how you first found yourself at the gates of the club. What I wanted to ask is how much truth is there in that, and what is your recollection of how you joined the club to start off with?
I probably say from different stories that you probably have had, or people have probably said, or there's probably 95% truth.
Okay.
So the whole running down the road and then seeing how quick you were, is that true?
Well, I think for me, there's obviously, as you guys, it is, but it's we're gonna go into details about that. There's an explanation. So from I don't know. Anyway, yeah, we'll get to that once I get to that part of the story. So basically, so when I came to Coventry, obviously my mom lived in Stoke-Aldermore, and obviously, as you know, the Alan Hicks Centre, which is still there, where the academy is sort of based, it's only across, it's only across the road from Stoke-Aldermore. So, and that my mum lived in one of those flats there. So, I've only been in Coventry for 2 months, and I've just started going to school, South Valley Primary School. And so, yeah, one day my mum actually sent me and my older brother to Asda. And obviously Asda, there's an Asda just across Alan Higgs as well, just near Alan Higgs. So we go there as we walk, and then we get where we went to get milk. And then as we're going back to the house, you can, as you're going back to Stoke-Aldermore, you on the main road, you can look over across the road where the academy trains on the Astro. So even every time I normally drive through that main road, I'll tell my wife that's where the big moment happened, the big revelation. Right there in that spot, that's when I had a glimpse over to see where the academy was training, and it was actually my age when I came to find out. And it was night time. It was like evening time, and when I looked over, I had a voice in my head just saying, "Go and ask to play." With my faith, my faith, and in my faith, we believe that God speaks and reveals Himself in many ways. So that was sort of His voice telling me to go and ask. Anyway, I didn't think much of it. And then the next day, come back from school, said to my mom, I want to go and register myself. At that time, I think you had to register yourself if you want to join as a trialist from if you're only 9 years old, 10 years old.
Mm.
So I asked my mom, and she said, no, I don't have money. She did, but she probably thought I was gonna just go and use it on a junk food or something like that. Anyway, so I was like, okay, no problem, I'll go myself. So I was about 11 here. So as I'm walking down, and I'm basically before I cross the road, all I say, I just said this prayer, and I said, God, I just came from Africa. These guys, they don't know who I am. I don't know who they are. So, but all I ask, whatever comes out of my mouth, just make them say yes. I just make them agree. So anyway, I go there. I watch the training, my age group, and about the Kirk Stevens. I don't know if you guys, probably know heard of Kirk Stevens. So he was the coach of my age under 11, and that was Josh Ruffles, Connor Thomas, and a few other boys who are still, some of them are still playing. And so they finish, and then Kirk comes to me. So I goes to Kirk, and I said, I want to play. He's like, he gets confused. He's like, what do you mean? Are you here to train? He's completely confused. I'm just like, I don't know. I just want to play. So he's like, all right, go to the office, speak to the scout, which is Ray Gooding and Chris Brown. And he said they'll be able to help you better. And so I went and I knocked the window, and obviously they said, okay, what can we help you? And I just said, I want to play. And they were like, no, it doesn't happen like that here. We have to come and scout you. And if we think you're good enough, then obviously we give you an invitation to come and try. And then if you pass the trial, then we sign you. And I said to them, listen, I just came from Africa, and I don't have any local team, any Sunday league team. And they said, okay, do you go to school? So I gave them my school name, and they were like, right, so the next day you go to school game, just send us a letter and we'll come and watch you. As soon as they said that, I was buzzing. I was like, yes, This is an opportunity. And so once they say that, when you have that sort of a leap joy, sort of like a celebration jogging, like yeah, like, sprinting, but walking and jogging. You get what I mean? So anyway, I'm starting just like just up with joy, and I'm like, yes, they're gonna come and watch me. So I'm buzzing, but I'm not sprinting. I'm just jogging back up the hill to go back and cross the road and go home. And before I get to the red light, they actually stopped me. And I don't know who between those two, Ray Gooding or Chris Brown, who literally calls me. So they shout younger, and I stopped. And I looked around, and there was not any young boys around. So I thought, it must be me. So I turned around. And they're waving back at me saying, come back. So I go back, and they're like, okay, do you have equipment? Do you have boots? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but I didn't have any. I had to go and get them the next day. So I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, well, come tomorrow at this time, about 6:00, and then then we'll go from there. And before I left, they were like, are you better than those boys there? And I just said, well, you'll have to wait and see. So yeah, from then I came, and then I trained. I was there for only it was before the end of the season, about 2 months before the season finished, or 1 month. So I was training, and then the season finished, but they told me to come back when the season starts. So when the next season started, we were under 12. I was only on trial again for maybe 2 weeks, and then they signed me. So yeah, and then that's how the journey began, man. So I don't know that if why you guys have heard is similar what I've just told you, but going back to that bit where they said, where we saw him sprinting and we thought, oh gosh, he's quick. But I believe that's where God answered my prayer, because I wasn't sprinting. So there must be.
You're just jogging, having a little jog.
Yeah, exactly. So there must be something that they seen that I don't know. So for them to stop me is for me, I take as answered prayer, because I've never had another story that's happened at Coventry, or anybody just go there and that happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What experience
did you?
Go on, Neil. Yeah,
So obviously you wanted to play. You wanted to play football. Did you have an experience like playing at that point with like other kids? And did you think that you're better, or did you just want to play football, or did you actually genuinely think, oh look, I reckon I'm better than this lot?
No. I have 2 older brothers and older sister. Now, at that time, my sister, she already joined. She was training with Coventry Academy girls. My sister, she not now, but she was better than me. She's very skillful. Even now, she's very skillful. But and so I've always been the young in my family. Where my older brother, they were really talented as well. So I've just always been a part of football, and growing up with my brothers, and football has always been part of our family. So
yeah, and
I was a defender. So when I joined Coventry, I was a defender. I was just this boy who just loved tackling, just take people on.
I can believe that.
Just crank people on. But so when I don't know. I just loved football. I just thought that's all I sort of knew, if I put it that way. Like, it wasn't like an arrogancy thing that I'm better than everyone. Even in my school team, I was just a defender, and I just took football serious from a young age. So, yeah.
What was it like? So you said it was the under-12s was the first time that you were a part of the academy properly. What did that look like, sort of on a practical level? So that's evenings, presumably, but is that every evening, or is it, a couple of times a week? And what do those sessions look like?
No, we trained 3 days a week. So I think it was, I don't know if it was Monday. I think it was, if I remember, I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then obviously we, from under, I think, from under 9 to under 14, they play Sundays.
Right. Okay.
And then under 15s plays Wednesday, and then under 16 and the youth team, they play Saturday in the morning. So so it was 3-day training, if I'm right. Yeah.
So how old were you when you made your debut? You were 17.
Yeah.
Presumably only just 17. So this is what, 5-ish years of academy football that leads up to you making your debut. During that time, where did you sort of sit quality-wise in compared to the rest of the players? Were you always in the upper bracket, or where were you?
So my age group had like literally was it's crazy because when I think looking back, there was a time like where from Callum Mawson's age, so when they were about 16, so from Callum Mawson's age, then Cyrus Christie's age, my and Connor Thomas, Josh Ruffles' age, then there was and then there was another age group that there was some like good players. Then I think under that age group you have then comes James Madison's and Ben Stevenson and all these guys. So there was a 5 or 6 years age group that had so many like talents that if looking back hindsight, if somebody knew how many talented we had and could have promote like as other teams would do. So you see Southampton, how they just used to invest in the academy and they'll bring academy players.
Yeah.
Coventry had that sort of talent. So but when I joined, I was just, like I said, I was just a defender under 12. My first game under 12, I was a left winger. I scored again. It's crazy because my first debut for the academy was against Leicester. My first debut from the first team was against Leicester. So I was the left winger. We won 2-1, and then but then because naturally I was just a defender. When we train, like when you just play like games, 5-a-side or 6-a-side, I would just go back like and defend. And so in training, then Kirk started seeing like, oh, he's actually a defender. He's good as a defender. And so I started playing as a defender from under 12. And then Josh Ruffle was moved ahead the next season, at age above, because he was obviously our age was too easy for him because he was good and he was already stronger than everyone. So I was like, oh, so that's what happens. So if you're good enough, you can get pushed up. So that motivated me, and the next season I did well, and then I started playing in Cyrus's age, 1 year above, and then I was and then from there things started escalate, and so when I was even 13, then I think when I was 13 I played under 15 at one point, and then when I was 14 I would go to train with the youth team once a week. So I'll have a day off from school. So yeah, I think from the academy there was already like a recognition. And Kirk, what's his name? Greg Ryok, when he came. So because Steve Ogzovich was the academy manager when I signed, and then after 2 years, or when I was under 15, I think. No, when I was under 14. I was playing for under 15, so that's when Augie went to the first team to become the goalkeeping coach, and then Greg Ryok and Richie Stephen took over. And then when I was playing for my age as a centre back, Greg said to me, "I'm gonna move into a centre mid because centre back is just too easy for you, and it's just too easy." And he said, I think, because it seems like you're not gonna grow into like, a typical centre back, I think bringing you into midfield is gonna make you even a better player. So under 14, that's when I started, like under 15, 14. That's when I started playing centre mid. So, and just a lot of practice, just practicing at home, and and then that's how things. I remember one of the youth team boys. I was 14, and they said 14, and they said, "Where do you see yourself in 4 years?" I said, "In Premiership."
Yeah.
And then, but deep down, I always said I wanna make my debut for Coventry before I was 17. Now, that's another story anyway. because go on.
No, I was going to ask you on the subject of position. Is that you've talked there about starting as a defender, moving into midfield. Where in an ideal world do you play? So if you were player manager, what formation are you picking to get the best out of you, and what do you want to do in that team?
I think I've always said this to people. I think some people have different opinions of where I can play, sort of thing. Like, I mean, Greg Rioki, he saw me as like the deep one who gets the ball from the back and start dictating the play from there. But then Richard Stevens, he was obviously, I spent most of the time with him. He spent more of the time at that time before he took on the job of the academy manager. So he was an under-16 coach, and then he was more involved with under-15 as well, and or the young age below. So he saw me as like I could play as a number 10, because there used to be a time that he would play me as a number 10 in under-16, and create and score goals and stuff. So, and then I'd have people who lived in Manor Farm, you call them my faithful fans even now. They whenever I would kick a ball at the park, they'd be like, "You should play more forward. Like, you can, you got skills." Da, 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 da. But I've always been. But personally, for me, is the time. It's a position I was starting playing when Mark Robbins took over. Just before we won the Checker Tray, so like two months before the season was finished, and it's either the deep one out of the three in middle, or just two holders. So we were playing as two holders, and that's the formation. Obviously, when we won the Checker Tray, we were just like 4-4-2, and just me and Ben just sat in the middle, and so it gave me. That is more easy because I can go forward. I got that freedom. I can go forward because there's somebody there. But I also like to, be the deeper one, and break the game at the same time. Like, start trying to control the game. So that's why I see myself more as a deep midfielder who just likes to, control the game from the back and help to control the team by communication from that role. Because I think that is more natural, because naturally I'm a centre back. So when you move, me playing as you can call it a holding midfielder, it's more. Do you know what I mean? It's more it feels more like home. But I've played all different positions in academy, right back, right mid.
Yeah, because when you were in the first team, a lot of us saw you and your attacking qualities as well. I remember I was quite a big champion of getting you much further forward, because I thought you had the quality to do something. When we desperately needed it, further up the pitch, we just thought you've got something about you. But it's interesting to say that you felt more of a natural sort of defensive player. Yeah. No, I think I don't mind. Like, I can do, because obviously at that time when we were playing as a diamond, and I was more of like the right diamond. And as a young player, you just want to get into the team. Like, if they tell you, listen, this is your job. You're just gonna run around. Go around tackling people, keep the ball simple,
help the right back, help the midfielders, give us the width. So as a young player, you're like, man, this is why not? That means it's gonna in the team. I'm just gonna do that. And what end up happening is you end up suppressing your quality because of your need of trying to rush to be in the team. While my true position would have been where Sammy Klingen was playing as the point of the back of the diamond. But even when I came back, I was playing more of number 8 until Mike Robbins took over. But yeah, everybody always says I can, even if you look my highlights of my career, I'd go forward and I'll chip in little goals here and then, or I'd create, or just more dictate in forward. But for me personally, as you ask, where would I put myself? But because I would put them myself if I've got more attacking quality players that I know I don't need to, I can put them and they can do the damage, and then I just have to solve them.
That's lovely. Okay, because Neil says it was interesting because it seemed at different times that you could do a lot of things really well. It's interesting to hear where you would have gone. I'm really happy to hear that you would have gone for the more defensive side of things to an extent, because I am a huge fan of a defensive midfielder. I think it's a undervalued role, and I loved it. You've got such a great tackle on you that it was always brilliant, especially because of how I think in interviews and stuff, like I mentioned earlier, you're always so positive and well-spoken and nice and everything, that it was always so brilliant then to watch you absolutely smash people up at times. Yeah. So,
we all remember the sending off.
Oh, I mean, it's really...
That was a bit harsh, wasn't it?
Well, a bit, yeah. So, on the academy, final thing before we move into your debut proper, you touched on it before, yeah. All of the players across all of the age groups still continues to this day that it's pumping out incredible players that keep making first team appearances. I think we were something like 19th in all of England for producing Premier League players while we were in League 2, I think. Why is the academy so successful?
And I would like first of all, it's because Coventry has talent. Just Coventry in general. I think
that's the first time that anyone's ever said that.
In the city of Coventry, no, I'm serious. In the city of Coventry, there is talent. Madison is from Coventry. I was raised in Coventry. Jordan Willis is from Coventry. Connor Thomas, Callum Wilson, and there is so many boys that the fans never got to see in the first team that were literally in the youth team. Under 16, youth team A stage, under 14, they were you look at them and you'll be thinking, oh my gosh, this guy is ridiculous. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But and all these boys, they were from Coventry. You get here and then majority of them, for example, Josh Rufford, he's from Oxford, or you get some of them who are from, I don't know, Leamington, or different, or Nuneaton or Leicester. Do you know what I mean? The old ones, but the ones who got on, Jordan Clark, obviously Nathan Cameron, he was Birmingham, but the ones who actually got on, the different. And so what I'm saying is because I believe it and I've seen it. I'm sure Bayliss is from Coventry, right? From what I know.
I think he's from Leicester, I've got a feeling. But either way, I know what you mean, yeah. Right,
yeah, Leicester. Like I said, you get through and then from Leicester, but in Coventry, I genuinely believe that in Coventry, there is talent. Now, I don't know if you've heard of the boy called Danny Crowley, he's from Coventry.
Yeah, he was at Arsenal for a bit, wasn't he, I think?
Yeah. So he's at Birmingham now. So there's been boys from Coventry who have gone to these different academies, around the Midlands. So I do believe the reason why Coventry is always, and of course, it's obviously the scouts that Coventry have had at that time and even now, that they do the great jobs. But I generally do believe that Coventry in itself has talent, and I think it's just so even right now, and I'm glad you brought that question, because even now that obviously I've not been, before even the this quarantine things happened, and I was just training and I trained with my personal trainer is my best friend, and he's like a brother to me. And so he started this thing to help the community, because there's been a lot of like young boys being murdered in Coventry, right? And a lot of like killings been going on. So he started to do this thing where he's getting young boys from 10 years old, max 18, and just train them, and football. They might play for like Sunday leagues or different clubs, but it's for the communities, to get them to be involved and to train them in football and to give them something positive to, especially football. Majority of young boys, they like to play football. So rather than them going after school, with their friends and just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and then something happens. So it's acknowledging that actually there is talent in Coventry, and sometimes there's some boys who don't get opportunity to join the academy, and they just think I'm not good enough, and they give up. And sometimes, like for example, I always give these boys like the best example for me is Matters. When Matters was when he was, I think, under 11, he was a toddler. He was that small. He was a child. He was that small. And then when he was under 12, he was still small. Where there was even a talk saying we don't know if we're gonna take him on as a scholar, because we don't think he's gonna ever grow. And I remember I said to Richard Stephen, and I said, yeah, but football is changing now, because look what Barcelona's, and that was the time when Barcelona's like Xavi and Iniesta, they were like, doing crazy stuff, and they were only small guys. So, but Matters, even a youth team, he didn't. Under 16, he was, the kids were still baggy on him. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And so, but because they were patient with him, and they were patient, and they stayed with him until when he was even a youth team, then he started to, start growing taller a little bit. He was still skinny, but even when he made his debut, he was still, you can tell he was still like a boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But look where he is now. So what I'm saying is, sometimes players with their bodies, they develop at different time. And I think sometimes, not just Coventry, but sometimes different academies can let people go. I think James Vardy said that. He said, how can you release a boy under 16 and think like I think he's never going to be good enough, or because of his size, or because he might not be good enough for a certain thing. You can never tell, because people pick up at different stages.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do, and I said to my friend, and I said, I feel the same. While I don't have, I'm waiting and I'm training, I'm gonna help you, and I'm gonna train these boys. I'm gonna help you and recruit as many boys, and just trying to help the community. And just, this is my city, man. This is the home. This is all I know growing up. I know I was born in Africa, but Coventry, it's not New York, but it's my home, and it's a town it's a city that's dear to my heart. So that's what we're trying to do, and help these boys, just stay from crying. But at the same time, if I've got the connection with the club, if I can help any of them, if they think they're good enough and they deserve a chance, then why not? But Coventry do have talent. That's why the academy has always been successful, I think.
So that is an incredible insight into the academy, and thank you. But let's get on to your first team appearances now. So you made your debut against Leicester at home, which is some game, the first game of the season, and it was really, certainly from the fans, really out of the blue to see both you and Cyrus Christie's names on there. What do you remember about that game?
Whoa. Man, it was crazy. It seems so long now, man. To be
fair, it was nearly 10 years ago. Can you believe that?
Wow.
That's crazy. That's mad. That makes me feel old. But anyway, the thing is, we had a last pre-season game against Norwich at home, and before on Friday. So we played Norwich Saturday, yeah. And on Friday, the team that was starting, I was not in the starting 11 against Norwich. So what normally happens is you'll have a starting 11 that will start, and then you'll have other 11s who act like the opponent team just for preparation.
Yeah.
And so I was on the other side. I was on the other playing, like being Norwich. But things were not clicking, and so actually my best friend Connor Thomas, he was starting, and then for some reason the team was not clicking. Anyway, and I think because Connor was probably, as a young player, you always the easiest to pick. So Andy Thorn and Harrison, can't remember his full name.
Steve
Harrison, yeah. So they said, okay, let's just tweak and see what happens. So they swapped me and Connor, and then the team that was meant to start, then we start doing okay. Now, I'm not saying it was Connor's fault, but anyway, for some reason they just thought, okay, yeah, this is the team that's gonna start against Norwich. And so against Norwich, I had a good game. I did well, and so that was sort of sealed my place for the kickoff of the season against Leicester. Yeah, man, it was crazy. I remember the day before, like on Friday, even when I came back from training, and I was in Manor Farm in my backyard. Me and my brother went outside in my garden, and he was just throwing balls, just two-touch, control pass, just making sure like I'm sharp and I'm ready.
Just checking that you still got it,
yeah. And yeah, it was crazy, you know. Yeah, it was just surreal, man.
Did you get a sense in the lead up to the season starting that you would be playing?
Nah. See, the thing is, and this is what I mean, like, because when I remember I said when I was 15, 14, I said I want to make my debut when I'm 17. Now, when I turned 16, Eddie Buford was the manager, so I was under 16, and at that time the style that the first team were playing was direct, as you guys probably remember. And obviously Gunnarsson, long throw was Booth.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I was thinking, boy, because what we used to do is we used to go and play with the staff, the youth team. We'd go and play with the staff, like, you know, just like the AD Booth, the academy stuff and all the other first team stuff. And then they would just kick us for fun, like literally boot us around. And they thought that was to preparing us anyway. And so, because I was known as a skillful, as a trickery feat, and just it was like one of those situations where you're like, I don't know, I can't see how I'm gonna make my debut in this team. The way they play, like, it's day and night to me. I was only petite. I was, Anyway, that season, I think 2 months or 3 months before the season finished, Eddie Buford gets sacked.
Yep.
Andy Thorn takes over. He starts playing good football, and then I get called up to go with the first team on the last day of the last game of the season at Norwich. And I was just on the bench. I didn't come on. And so I just said to Andy Thorn, what do I need to do to get into the team? He just said, come back in pre-season, like strong, da-da-da. And I remember, I don't know if you remember the player, ex-Coventry player from actually Coventry, something Thornton.
Kevin Thornton, yeah.
Kevin Thornton.
Yeah.
Who we thought was going to be a brilliant player at one point, yeah.
Exactly. So he said to me, I remember when I met him, and he said, you know what, just go in pre-season, like, if you can be as fit as you can, like, that's where you put yourself in the manager's mindset, in the manager's plan. So I was like, okay. So in that season, I ran from Manor Farm to what's David Lloyd now. I ran there, and then I was getting in the gym, and then I was running on the treadmill. I was just crazy. I was just preparing like mad. And then when pre-season started, the funny thing is, the club went to Portugal. I didn't go with the club. I was left with the youth team. Yeah. So I was training with the youth team, and then when they came back, as you know, every season it happens. We play against the Newton, and so when we played the Newton, the first team started, and then the second team, and then that's when I came on, and from that game, then that's when most people are like, who's this crazy little kid with red boots. And then game after game after game, and that's how we build up, and I would just enjoy myself. So it was crazy. So, and then obviously from where I was, literally a few months before Eddie Buford was in charge, I was thinking, no chance I'm making my debut. and then I did. So it's mad. Yeah, it's mad.
Well, we've spoken to a couple of people recently where it makes you realise as a footballer how much those kind of small differences, or being in the wrong place at the wrong time and the right place at the right time makes a difference. But like you say, if Eddie Boothroyd had still been in charge, we might not have ever have seen you really. Talk to me about Andy Thorn. Talk to me about Andy Thorn then. How did you find Andy Thorn as a manager?
He was quite just normal. He really liked to play, and the players had obviously, we had the different like mix of young players and a few odd players, and not odd, but just players who've had like good years in good levels. But I think what we missed in that season was just end product, really, like scoring goals. Because we play very good football, but we just couldn't score. So that obviously that puts under pressure to any manager. But he was good with the lads. He was he got on with majority all the boys. I think because he wasn't a chief scout before he took over.
He was. That's exactly right. And he was the scout that was responsible for signing Arteta and Gael at Everton, I believe. That was the thing that he was his big kind of marquee thing when he was when he came to the club. That was the big fanfare around him. And then I think he'd been responsible for signing a number of players around that time for us that had done well. But I can't think of anyone at the moment. But the thing that I'd always heard with Andy Thorn is that kind of things were very, very, very relaxed, possibly a little too relaxed.
Yep. Obviously it's long back now, but I think for the better of the club, there's always it's good that you need to make a place feel like home and relax, but then there needs to be sort of like, there needs to be a sort of like a good respect towards the manager. And in football, they'll always tell you once the players don't really respect, then there's not gonna be good fruits at the end of that season.
Who are the best managers you've worked under?
At City or in all my career?
Just full stop.
Just from all my
or wherever you've been, yeah.
I've always said to people, Robbins, and not because obviously how well he's doing now, and I think if people were to look my clips of when he took over and when I started playing under him, and I think that even showed, I think, the limelight of how I loved football playing under him was obviously at the Checker Trade Trophy. But yeah, and we've always stayed in contact even now. So Matt Robbins for me, I've worked under good managers. I've not been around a lot it seems like I've been around a lot in football, but I've not been around a lot of managers. But yeah, I think even you guys just seeing what he's done with the club, is
what makes him special then?
I just put it that way, that he, in a short way, as he understands football. And I think maybe that for people might be okay. So what do you mean by that? But
yeah.
as a player,
can I just jump in for a second? Because what really made me laugh, if I'm honest, is when I said to you, what was Andy Thorn like? You said he's just normal, and I felt like saying to you, maybe normal for you, but you're talking to two people who've never played professional football, Gael. So I don't know what normal is. Yeah.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So what's it? So what is it that Robbins does that's, kind of, when you say he gets football, you said it yourself, what does that mean?
For me, football is should be played on the grass, which it does. What I mean by that, I know that sounds rhetorical.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But it's not badminton. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
Because I am a strong believer in possession with purpose and a tempo, pass, skill. Really that's my view of football. So his training sessions is specific for tight space, different fitness. It's more realistic. So everything you do is realistic to the game.
Right.
Your walk rate is everything is involved football. Listen, you have to do fitness work without football, which we do. He does that. So that's what I mean. He understands football, and at the same time, he's played at the highest level, and so he know how to get the best out of the player that he works with, and that is nothing. That's something sometimes many managers doesn't have. Is for me, I believe a best manager is the one that can look at a player and goes, if I can get him to do this and do that, I will unlock something out of him. And he's got that.
So, final thing from that season that I want to touch on is you won 2 really special awards, didn't you? You won the Championship Apprentice of the Year, and I guess, well, I'm going to say more importantly, but I guess you would decide which one of those was more important, but you won the club's Community Player of the Year as well, didn't you? What were you doing on the side that got you those awards?
I mean, the apprenticeship, I think that's just obviously. To be honest, if I'm really honest, I don't know. I don't know why.
Really?
I don't know. But I don't know, because it was between the competition was between me, Wilfred Zaha, and a boy who was from Crystal Palace as well.
Is it Johnny Williams?
John Williams, yeah, Jonathan Williams, who plays for Wales.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was because we were youth, we were like a youth, like that sort of a youth apprenticeship age, but we were playing in the first team, and who was doing well. I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I can't really say it was because I was clever with doing my education, because I wasn't.
So when they presented you with the award, what did you say? Just thanks. I don't know what this is for. Thanks. That's incredible.
No, I was just like, I sort of knew that it was to do with like Apprenticeship of the Year award. Obviously, I sort of I had a little bit of knowledge of it, but I did, if you were to ask me what does that mean, I wouldn't have a clue.
Wow, that is amazing. But then the community player of the award for like a 17, 18-year-old, that's amazing. How much extra stuff were you doing on the side for that?
No, I think you just obviously like Dave Boost. He's the head of the community, I think. So they just select random players different days, or sometime as young players, the first team boys, they've got families, so you're more likely available to do more of it.
Are you really underselling your role in this, or are you just? It's just...
No. I would just like. I don't know. I enjoy doing it. Obviously, going to schools, different schools, doing different things. I don't know, and I just I love giving back. Like I said, Coventry is my town, so when I was playing, the way I was playing on the pitch is the same way that I have not just the love for the club, but I have that sort of same passion for this town. So it was just natural. It was just natural that. So that's why, like you said, as a 17-year-old to do, I wasn't doing it because it's like, oh, I want to win this.
No, but equally is that. So I think I'm going to try and give you the credit that you possibly deserve here, and that you. I think a lot of 17-year-olds wouldn't be mature enough to kind of embrace that kind of stuff, and secondly, maybe wouldn't want to, and almost understandably wouldn't want to spend so much time doing that kind of stuff. But everything that you're saying there is presumably why you won it, is that you're talking about it as your city and that you want to give back and everything. I just think that's commendable, basically. Neil, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it was just the same. I think it's what we saw in you, maybe more than maybe what you saw in yourself. You kind of treated it as kind of an innate, natural way of being, but what we kind of saw was this really sort of infectious, happy guy who just wanted to play football and wanted to throw himself into his career. And I think that's the whole narrative around your start to life at Coventry kind of reflects that. That's what we got the sense of it. And I think we see this sort of conveyor belt of lads coming through the system, and there's loads of them who just want to be a footballer, but maybe some of them for different reasons. Whereas I think what we got from you was this notion, this sense that you wanted to be football because you love football. And I think it was that enthusiasm for us when you were coming through. That's what we all warmed to immediately, because we just knew you're doing this for the right reasons. You're doing this because you want to be happy and you want to play football. And your story basically just reflects that.
Yeah, no, thanks. And that's all I can sort of, want is for that sort of energy to be seen, because sometimes people say words are nothing without actually like your action speaks louder than words, as I say. So for me it was I think just giving back, and I think just there's always helping someone, just maybe being an inspiration to somebody and just say, you know what, everybody has gifts. So I always think if I can have an opportunity to speak to somebody and get them to see that, hey, this is a boy from Africa that never dreamed like you'd be playing in the championship or didn't even know what championship was.
Well, and then to go on and take the next step to go and play in the Premier League as you ended up doing. So how did that come about?
Yeah. Man, I didn't even know about Newcastle until a few I actually, funny thing is, even at that time, I never wanted to leave, because I was not ready. But you make those decisions as a young boy, and at the same time, people say, "Oh, you might get pressured by your agents and different things." The mistake that I did, even though people might say, "Yeah, but you were young, so it's easy for people to influence you." I've come to learn that forget it. It's not about. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was their fault. It was my family's fault. It was them. They pressured me, my agent. That no. At the end of the day, they didn't put a gun into my head and say, "If you don't do this, we're gonna shoot you." So I have to take responsibility that I shouldn't. Cyril Regis, may his soul rest in peace. He was like a father to me. He was like a dad to me. So he looked up to me. He became sort of my mentor from under 14. And these agents, they came and they sold me dreams, and I went with them. Let me put it that way. And but I know the best thing for me would have to stayed, even when we got relegated at that age. But still, people says, yeah, but he was Newcastle just finished 5th in Premiership, and everything was going up high, and they were getting Europa, blah blah blah. They were doing so well. So yeah, it's just one of those things that I've had to learn from, and so but there was so much good thing that came out of it. The first season was amazing, but then for me personally, for the first team, we finished like 16th, just above relegation, because there were so many key players got injured. But for me personally, even now Newcastle fans, I still have that sort of good, mature relationship where they remember what I did as a young boy coming up and to that goal.
Well, I was going to say, so I was watching that live on TV, the Wigan game, where you scored the 3rd in that game. And it's funny how you have certain players, how even after they leave the club, you're just desperate for them to do well. And I was celebrating that goal like it was a Cov goal. When you look back at that goal, what do you think?
Man, I don't know, man. I know people always ask me that. When you look at it with the football eyes, it's like, man, it's Monday night football. It's a St. James Park, and you score with top corner, so your Premiership goal, like you scored. Sometimes it's like. It does until when people bring it back. It's like, oh yeah, I have scored in Premiership. but it's for me, obviously, probably majority of people remember me on that. My days in Newcastle, but that was not enough for me because I wanted to really like. It's not how you begin. It's not how you start something, is how you finish. So signing 5 years there and only have that 1 year to remember, and then that I did well and I was playing a lot, and I got to play at stadiums that I always says to people, like when I was in Africa as a young boy, I'd watch Manchester United in Champions League. We didn't watch Premiership. You only get like 15 minutes of watching like the French league. like highlights of goals.
Yeah.
I got to start understanding Premiership when I moved to Uganda. But being there, watching Paul Scholes, and then when come to England, and he's like, one of the greatest midfielder player, and then you're looking up to him growing up coming through the academy, to go and play against him, it was like, man, like, so that season there was so much highlights, but just the disappointment is just that I never.
Did you not want to be there?
No, Newcastle United, lovely people up there, man, and just really nice people, great club. Second season, again, due to my lack of full responsibility, man, that I did well, and people always say, "Purge this, purge that," but at the end of the day, like, it's not. Let me tell you, it's not. Like, I'm not trying to be like, "Oh man, this guy is so nice. He doesn't want to. He's protect." Like, if I did what I needed to do that I know now, then you know what, I would have been all right. But I remember after that season, obviously they brought a lot of French players as a young player. Maybe the club should have sent me to an academy, but that is out of my hand. I couldn't control that. But what I could have controlled, I didn't control. Let me put it. The season finished. I went with England under 20. Funny thing is, I can't, because in the summer after the season finished, I came to Coventry and I would train like community of like Burundi players and free boys from just free boys from different African nations, and I used to coach them in Stockheath, and we'd go to London and there'd be like an African Cup sort of tournament. And I remember I was coaching them, but in 1 week I was meant to be going to a camp, England under 20, and this was that age group where all these boys like Ross Barkley, Harry Kane, John Stones, James Ward-Prowse, all these boys who are really like on top of their games. And I twisted my ankle coaching in Coventry.
Like, oh, really? You're kidding me?
Yeah, sprained my ankle quite badly, but it wasn't that bad. Like it was painful, but I just bombarded with ice and ice and ice. So I went there and I was training and they made the 20-man squad I was going, and I made it. It was a good experience. I went there, but I only got to play 6 minutes. How I don't know, because in out of that time I was the most experienced player who played in the Premiership at that time. But anyway, that was
Why didn't you play? Why didn't you play more then?
I don't know. I don't know. It's out of my hand.
Do you have a theory? You sound like you've got a vague idea of why.
Yeah, but man, it's in the past. Like at the end of the day,
fair enough.
It is what it is, and you just have to look at yourself. So that's all I was trying to do. It's way in the past, man. So, but I came back, and then I didn't really play a lot in the tournament, and we didn't go through the group stage. I came back, and then rather than me going straight to Newcastle, I asked for 2 more weeks off. So, like I said, that was silly and very stupid. So when I went back there, I was already, obviously not playing in the tournament. Sort of started, sort of knocked me off a little bit. But when I went back there, the team was already like into already ahead. The train was already moving, man. So I was playing catch up, and then that season I was playing in the youth team, in a reserve, and then from there, the first team was not doing well anyway. So the managers was under pressure, and you just get stuck in the youth team, and that's when you start get caught up in the lifestyle of being at the Premiership club. Even when you're in the reserve, you gain paid a decent money, and sometimes you lose that fire, that edge because you're just like, oh yeah, things will change, and you're not really pushing for things to change. You're just expecting things to come to you. So, and that's how my time at Newcastle sort of like started. And then obviously, I came back to Coventry on my 4th year there, loan. Then on my 5th year, I resigned at Newcastle, and then that's when I signed 1 year, which I should have signed more than a year, looking back.
So, firstly, I want to ask about that first loan spell, because there's two things. Firstly, you signed and you were loan number 6, weren't you? Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you know that you were loan number 6, and that when you came in, did you know that might cause a problem?
No, I just wanted to be back at Coventry.
Because it was really weird when you came back, because at times you were good enough to be in the first team, but not even in the squad occasionally, which must have been really hard to deal with.
Yeah, no. But even when I came back, I wasn't myself, to be honest. I was, there were just so many things outside the pitch that was going on. So yeah, I was just going through like a change of just I was still in a place of where I'm thinking, how am I here? Not how am I at Coventry, but like what's happened in the last 4 years. So, but then obviously coming Coventry, that sort of then at the end of that season, actually, I remember I had one of my best games. I know sometimes it's the end of the season and clubs like, oh, we're getting relegated or we're getting promoted or we're staying safe, so people are more like relaxed. But I played against Oldham and under Tony Mowbray. He was another great coach as well. And then, things. I really had a good end to the season. Was that
the last game of the season? Was it where we won 2-0 at Oldham?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that game. You had a number of decent games. That season specifically, was it Bradford as well? It might have been a 0-0 against Bradford where you were brilliant. Yeah,
Bradford was my first sort of game. No, my first game was Oldham when we beat Gillingham 5-0. At the Rico, and then I came on as a substitute. But Bradford was my second game. So even then, I was just still not fully me. But then when I came back, I got married after that season, and then in pre-season, I really pushed myself. I went back to Newcastle in the reserve, and this seen that there was change in me. But funny enough, before I came to Coventry, Oxford wanted to take me, but I said no. And then we ended up playing them. So if I went to Oxford, I would have played against Coventry in the checker trade.
Oh, wow, of course.
I wouldn't have that. No, we can't have that. Not in our first time at Wembley in that many years. You playing against us. No chance.
I'm just trying to think, would have Josh Ruffles came off the bench that game, didn't he?
Yeah, because his header, no, it wasn't his header. Somebody headed the ball. Lee Burge saved it, and he parried it to Josh Ruffle, and Josh Ruffle then like bounced it, and he went over Lee Burge, but I was on the line, and I don't know what happened, but I just normally you would want to kick it out or do something, but I just stopped the ball, and then Lee Burge just picked it up. I don't. It was mad. It felt like, even when I look back, it just seemed I was so still in that moment. Like I was just like. I don't even know why I did that.
Right.
Oh, it's been surreal, the whole game.
Yeah, but anyway.
I want to talk about a couple of things. So, there's, this period, this 18-month period, when you came back on loan to start, and then by the end of that next season, there's so much happens in that season. So, I want to, just before we get on to Wembley, now we talked to Chris Stokes last week, and we asked him the same question, and I hope you don't think that it's a rude question, right? But that 2015-16, when you come in on loan, we've got Joe Cole, James Maddison, Jacob Murphy, Adam Armstrong, you, Ben Turner. I don't need to go on. Why did we not get? How did we not get promoted?
Obviously, there was a time when we were like second in the table.
We were so the Gillingham game that you talked about there, which was in November. We went top that day.
Yeah, I think there was few games where we were winning, and then there was like silly mistakes, just stupid mistakes that just like I don't know, passed back and then somebody went through, scores. And there was few games that we were winning and then we ended up drawing or we ended up losing. And I think because there was a time where I think at that time that for me it's like because of how amazing Armstrong was in that season and Murphy, I think everybody was sort of depending on them. So when teams, when it came to near the end of the season, team sussed how to stop Armour and Murphy, and then because everything was built to go through them, because of how amazing they were doing. So it's sort of like it got to the place where it was like, oh, we haven't got no plan B. But you know. Obviously, that's not down. I won't say, well, that means the coach didn't have a plan B. No, it was like the team was so gelled, was so just so good at the way they were playing with, you know, Murphy just being, you know, rapid and Armour being rapid and just breaking teams for fun. And it was just sort of like, okay, this is gonna be great. But I think, you know, I think that for me that's the reason why, because it got to the point where it was like when Arm and Murphy they would be stopped, then it was like, oh, okay. Then sometimes that's obviously John Flake would trying to go past people and then shoot from distance, and he scored a few goals, as you guys will remember, and he was a key part of that team as well. That's why we even got a big move. But yeah, it was a weird one because everything was looking up, but I think because it was more like counter. It was just sat back and allowed the team to have the ball. It was difficult then to break teams down. I think that was made it difficult. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that's what made it sort of stop. But and so it was difficult to break teams down.
Yeah, and I guess that makes perfect sense because when we were at our best, it was springing that pace that we'd got in people like Ryan Kent earlier in the season and Jacob Murphy and everyone like that.
Kent as well.
And it's always going to be difficult to then try and break teams down when they come and try and defend. But the way it fell apart,
because that's when teams suss that out, and it's like, right, they've got Kent, they've got Murphy, they've got Armstrong, and these boys are like, they can run for fun. And so when teams were trying to go like punch to punch, that's how that team flourished. Because if you attack and then we regain the ball, then whoa, you're already exposed. But when teams then would sit back and just allow us having the ball, you know.
Yeah. So let's move on to Wembley the following season then. So you mentioned it right up top, but that your wife gave birth to a daughter?
Eden, yeah.
How soon before kickoff? Within 24 hours?
Yeah.
How on earth do you deal with that?
Man, it was a bit stressful because...
Did she tell you not to play?
Oh, no. She wanted me to play, but I wanted to, you know, she wanted me obviously to be there, but at the same time she wanted me to play.
Yeah.
And I wanted, you know, I didn't want to miss it. So they traveled I think he was. When was the game? Was Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We trained on Friday, and that's when my wife, she started to she basically go into labor from home. We're gonna have a home birth, but then on Friday afternoon he just dragged on all the way through the night to the next day, Saturday. And then Saturday, that's when the team travelled down to Wembley. And then, the club would just keep ringing, said, what's going on? What's going on?
Like, you really need that, don't you? I'll be there in a minute.
So I think it was about around 11:25, something like that, 45. That's when she came out. She was born. As soon as she was born, I only held her for like 30 minutes, and then my stepfather-in-law just we go into the car and he just drove down to London, and all the way to Wembley where the boys were looking the pitch.
How did you feel about that?
And it was just amazing, but it was crazy. If I'm honest, like, because it was like a long labor. My wife, she was amazing, man, and so just seeing what she was going through. That when I left there, I was like, there is nothing that can. That was the best motivation. Let me put it that way. Just going, because seeing that and seeing my first child even. Yeah. So all when I was going, I was like, man, if my wife can go through that pain, then what?
See, this is let me take it off from here for a second, if you don't mind. So this is why we love you so much, Gael, right, as Cov fans, because I had my wife had a long labour for almost 24 hours between the point where she had to be slightly induced, right?
Yeah.
But by the point when she actually gave birth, nearly 24 hours later, I was so tired that I had to, it took every sinew in my body not to fall asleep holding my son so that I didn't drop him on the floor. What I didn't do was drive down to Wembley and play in a cup final. You must have been absolutely shot to bits. How on earth, even on a physical level, did you manage to play that game?
No, I mean, I don't think not like you stayed awake, but I fell asleep a couple of times
in the game.
Okay. No, like in the evening I fell asleep, and then my mother-in-law sort of woke me up and goes, "Oh, we have to go to the hospital." So we went to the hospital. Stay awake, hospital, wait, and then it was about. So it was actually the whole labor was 27 hours.
Oh my God!
So I think in all of that, I sort of slept 6 hours, to be honest.
Oh, you had it easy.
No wonder
you were able to go down to Wembley and play a full foot.
Yeah, so
I thought you had it hard. All right, okay.
Nah, man, you're a Terminator. You've got the strength of a Terminator. So fair play to you. But so yeah. But once I left there, I was just like, and I got to Wembley and I saw the boys, and everyone was like, yeah. So that was cool. That was amazing. But it was crazy because even everything that was going on, and obviously the season that we were having, but just being at Wembley with the boys who were there, and obviously the coaching staff, man, those even when obviously the anniversary, so a few days just ago on the 2nd of April, just looking back a few pictures and speaking to Kyle Reid and just thinking, man. Gosh, like that would live with us for I know it's Checker Trade Trophy. I know it's Checker Trade Trophy, and people might think, "Oh, come on, chill out, it's Checker Trade Trophy." But
No, not at
We're
all.
just
Right,
the
so
same. No,
we talked about this last week with Chris Stokes, right? So when we were on the way down, I remember feeling like it was like, oh, it's just a checker trade trophy, like you say. Then when you scored, it was one thing. When we were ahead at Wembley, like it was really exciting anyway. But then when you scored specifically, an academy player who the fans loved so much, is we were 1-0 up at Wembley, and then all of a sudden it was like, hang on a second, this is about as good as it gets. Then of course George Thomas scores, another academy player, and you just think, oh my God, this is incredible. And it was really only like at that point when he scores where you think, hang on a second, we're 2-0 up at Wembley, and it's two like Coventry players. I know that George Thomas is from Leicester, but we were like, these are two lads. These are two like this is. When he scored, I was nearly in tears, and I'm a big dickhead that doesn't cry all that often. Like it was, So I know what you're saying it's just a checker trade, but like I could say, not just being up and scoring and everything, but the fact that it was you two was just so special to us. So don't underplay how special it was.
No,
your goal, Gael. Your goal, Gael.
Oh yeah.
No, I think it. When I say that, yes, I understand this no FA Cup. I understand this no, but it was a World Cup to me. It felt like World Cup. And I know people might say, "Well, come on, man, that's."
No, of course not.
I've never won the World Cup. I'm just being honest, because of. Now, when I came to Coventry were obviously. I think they were in Championship, and it was just a few years. So I came to Coventry in 2004, and I think Coventry got relegated from Premiership. Is it? If I'm right, 2000. So only a few years. So when I used to go watch Coventry and the Rick, I went to watch cover Highfield Road. I think was one time, and then majority of the time was the Rico. And hearing people talk about it was like, wow. Man, this is crazy. Coventry, like it's a big club. To me, it's a big club. So that moment, I was just thinking, I know everything around. Like I remember saying to the boys, that before we had dinner, and then I don't know what got me to do this. I know what it was. My faith tells me I know what I know. Anyway, and I just call all the academy boys into one room. Jordan Willis, Lee Bird, Jordan Willis, Kieran Harris, Ben Stevenson, Dion Kelly-Evan, George Thomas. Who else was there from the academy?
Ryan Haynes.
Yeah, Ryan Haynes started. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right, Ryan Haynes, and I think that was it. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. Those who were there at the academy. So I think 7 of us. And I just said, listen, boys, I know. And this is exactly what I said. I said, I know there is so much rubbish that is going on that people talk about this club. And there's so much that we don't know. There's so much that we know that. And we can all say, yes, man, we don't get treated. Like, there's so much things that can be done, blah, 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 blah. But I said, but remember this, that if we are both known by the football world today, is because of this club. That they gave us the chance from the academy. And I remember Jordan Willis started at Coventry, went to Birmingham, got released, and then Coventry took him back as a scholar. So, and I just said, boys, listen, it's because of this club that we are where we are, and people know us. And I said, so as much as we might have our opinion about the club and whatever, but tomorrow, if there's one thing you can do for this club to show that, to appreciate what is the opportunity it is giving us, and I mentioned a few players to them that obviously Matters was not there. He just moved on. A few players who came from a Coventry and have got to have decent careers. And I said, so tomorrow whoever starts should not look at, like, don't look at the other players who are not from Coventry or who didn't come from the academy. Don't look at them and expect them to to give the extra 5%. But because of what the club has done for us, let us be the ones who put on the 5 extra. And if everyone who starts that are from this room, anyone who starts, and if we can add that 5%, then it will be contagious to the other players. And I said, and then whatever the outcome is, then we can know that we gave everything that we could. And it was crazy then. It's just crazy then that. Then it was me and Thomas, and Joe Thomas was called, and Lee Budge had a ridiculous he could have been man of the match as well.
Yeah.
Ryan Haynes,
everyone played really well that game. Yeah.
Everybody, and people always say Ryan Haynes defensive, but that day he was like, his concentration was like bang on point, and Jordan Willis was involved in the first goal. Dion Kelly Evans came on, of course, yeah. So man, like Kian Harris didn't play the final, but he was involved in the throughout the build up of getting there, and it was crazy. It was amazing, and I think for me, it was even after my interview, it was just so emotional because I just believed that was the beginning of the club going back up and up and up. That was a turning point. That was
it was.
Totally. Yeah, Robin's coming in.
Yeah,
obviously, what you guys did got us the momentum and got the love from us lot back with the club. And what was really strange was it's very hard for us to understand how that happened because of the fact that we'd just been relegated to the lowest point we'd been in 50 years. Everything surrounding it was so negative. And yet, in isolation, that day was absolutely mega. It meant so much achieving what we did at that point.
It just gave hope. That because, like you said, everything we just got relegated again, and we was going to get relegated, and everything that was going on, it's always about the boys on the pitch. It's never the fun. Like I'm not just because I'm speaking to you, I'm not trying to being all like friendly with the fans. At the end of the day, if fans don't come to the game, it's not because that fans whatever. It's all about the people on the pitch. If the team on the pitch, if the boys on the pitch are on flames and they're playing with a passion, the fans will come. The fans will come, and so that. What happened on that day, everything that was going on, that was just like a light of hope with everything that was going on, and obviously that you can sort of say that was like a foundation, and so those boys, Ben Stevenson with me, it was a dream. It was a dream playing with him as well, and he was unbelievable as well, and man, just everyone, not just the boys from the academy, but so many that I could mention that they were fantastic that day, and seeing even after that in the next season the club getting winning promotion from League Two. I was in holiday at that time, and then I was just like, yes, come on, the clouds, the dark clouds is shifting. Come on, it's time that the sun starts shining again, and the club is just gonna get better and better, and obviously my heart goes out literally for what's happening at the moment, and I just hope, I just believe whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, whatever the decision that the people are on top of the game, whatever they decide to do with the league, whatever happens. If Coventry don't get promoted to this season, then it's only going one way under Mark Robbins.
I'm not prepared to even contemplate not going up this season because
I know. I just hope that doesn't come to that. But what I'm saying is that God forbid if worst case scenario that happens, then people shouldn't be fearful, because it's gonna get better. It's getting better, and I hope my prayer that is they get promoted 100%, because and it's like a bittersweet for me sometimes, because it's like I remember when I came back from Newcastle, I said to what's his name, the Telegraph journalist Andy Turner.
Yeah.
And I said, when I made debut for this club, they won the championship. So my dream, my goal will be to help the club go back to where it was when I came to this club. So it will be like, man, it will bring me such happiness, and just not just for the city, for the club, but just for the community as well.
Hey, the way that you've talked about your team talk pre the Checker Trade final, at this point, is that really you should be bringing back, well, either as a player or as a player academy manager, because it feels like, I mean, I don't know about you, Neil, but when you were going through that there, I was ready to get on the pitch then and get the win.
All over it, mate. Yes, yeah. That's the motivator.
Right, final thing I wanted to ask you about, Gael, before I let you go and enjoy your isolation, is the African Cup of Nations. Is that there's not many players get to experience something of that nature, but that to do it for a country, was it the first appearance for Burundi in the AFCON? Or was it?
Yeah, for over 60 years since their independence.
And am I right in thinking that you captained the team in one of the games? Was it against Guinea?
Yeah, I was the vice captain, so but the Guinea game, Saido Berahino didn't start, so I captained. So that was an honor, a huge humbling moment. Yeah. I think, like you said, it was just crazy, because my time at Hibs was, I wasn't playing a lot. I only played like 45 minutes. Not because I was injured or unfit or anything. It's just...
Why didn't you play more? Why didn't you play more on Hibs?
I signed before Paul Higginbottom took over.
Okay.
And I played my first game, 45 minutes, Aberdeen. I came on. We were losing 2-1. I did well. The next game was Celtic away. I didn't play. Then the next game after Celtic, it was a cup game against one of the small teams. I was on the bench again. I didn't come on. The team won. After that game, that's when Paul Higginbottom took over. So, as majority of managers would do, they have to keep the team that won. They lost the previous game because he didn't know everybody. So he was only in 2 days. So he kept that team. They won the next game, and Hibs were like in the bottom of the table, not bottom, like lower, and their aim was to make into the top half before the split. So they started winning. The team started winning. Like they won like 4 games in a row, and I was on the bench. I wasn't coming on. So in a sense, but I respected him. Like he was very good coach as well. Very very, very good coach as well. And he just told me if I was on a winning team on that game before he took over, then things would have been different. So I look back with no regrets why I went to Hibs. You live and you learn. But obviously having the African Cup, that gave me hope. So I was starting training and doing extra, preparing. Every training that I was doing was aiming toward the last 2 games, which was the last game, which was Gabon. We needed to win or draw in Burundi, and so go back there. When I went there, we drew, and then so that was my mental preparation for the African Cup. So that was crazy. It felt like an independence. There were people running on the street with like trees and leaves, and it was ridiculous. It was crazy. So that was an honor, man. Just going there and just experiencing the African Cup. It's not big in Europe, but it as you know, the name speaks for itself. It's an African Cup. Africa is a big continent, so It's really popular there, and I know majority of other like Western world knows about it, but it was
So for enjoyment of watching a tournament, for me, is it's right up there with any that there are going. Is that the ones for me that stick out recently were... Well, no, but Zaire winning again recently was just unbelievable when it was... Is it Emmanuel Mayuka who ended up going to Southampton after the... That was incredible. And then there was the Ivory Coast one after they'd not won it for years, and Boubacar Barry, the goalkeeper, had, I think, scored the winning penalty. I know it's not the World Cup because it's not the World Cup, but it's an incredible tournament every single time.
Yeah, it's big, it's massive, it's got better and better and better and better every year. So it was just an honor to a little Burundi, but so being part of it has brought hope again. So even though my career individually, club-wise, everything around it seemed like it's just going through difficulties and ups and downs and stuff. But all in all, that's when I came back before we leave. When I came back, like I said, I was ready to have a club, and so from July, August, September, nothing happening. So I just thought I might as well go and train, because obviously Solio is only 30 minutes from here, so I might just well go and stay fit. And then when I was there, I just thought, what, nothing is even happening from the time I've been training, waiting for things to come up. So the whole September I was just training there, and then and October, and then so I just made a decision that I'll just sign for 2 years, for 2 months until January open, and then see if there's any opportunity comes. So yeah, and here we are, quarantine.
Well, yeah, exactly. And well, listen, I guess you don't want to be, and this is a kind of a light-hearted final question, and I know that this is no disrespect to Solihull Moors, but then if and when the call club comes from Coventry City, would you come back?
What do you think?
No, I think we would love to see you back, as you have been such a big part of a lot of the biggest moments in the club's history over the last 5 years or so, and you're just someone I think Cov fans just adore, so it would be brilliant. Listen,
for me, I've probably made, and people always say don't regret making decisions, and with me, I do believe, like, yes, you shouldn't, absolutely not, you should learn from them. But I just thank God that everything works for my good, whether it's the wrong decision that I've made. When I left, let me tell you something, this is personal. Before I signed to Mother, there was tears. That's how much I never wanted to leave Coventry. But as you asked that question, like I said to you, Coventry is my home. I could.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could play. I know people say, "Nah, come on, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't." Let's be honest. I would. Coventry, and this is why I said to people, I don't know why it is about Coventry, but I'm just a Coventry geek, if you can put it that way. I just, you hear people say, Coventry is boring, there is nothing. Obviously now, the town is getting changed.
It's getting better, yeah.
But you hear people say, nah, Coventry is dead. I can't. But to me, I just don't know. I just don't know. I know why, and if somebody was to want to know why, then I can always explain. But I just, if I was to serve this city, even if I've learned I've learned a lot. I've not played football. I've not been in football for like ridiculously. I'm not 30. I'm not, I've not gone all around the world playing football. But from the experience that I've known and where I am now as a man and as a dad and as a husband, my heart is, if I was to play, even if I was to play for free, even if it means I was to play, I'm telling you, if it means I was to play for free, and people say, yeah, but you're it's because you're desperate, and Coventry are about to get promoted. Even if, because I'm not afraid about them promoted. Like, I'm not like, I'm not trying to boast, but I've played Premiership.
Yeah.
I've played Championship. I've played League One. So
you were playing to a good level in the Championship when you were 17. You'd hope that you hadn't gone backwards, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like, oh my gosh, Coventry are going Championship. Oh, I need to be good because I can want to play. If the opportunity to come, would I turn it down? Of course not. But if it doesn't, would my life stop? No, life goes on. But I'm just saying, I'm at a point where if that was the call was to come, I would say, guys, give me as long as you. If it means I'll sign for the rest of my life, because this is what I'm telling you. This is as we shared about what I said to the boys, because I know what Coventry has done for me. Like I know what the town as for me has helped me. You know, my wife, she's from here.
Yeah. So
my kids were born while I'm at Coventry. I'm living at Coventry. So this is my home. So even if God forbid, I hope, but even if say the phone doesn't come, like I said, I want to still serve the city, which we're doing with me and my friend. Who his thing is called MGA Athletes, and so his name is Innocent. Sorry, so we either way, I'm still serving my city. Either way.
How can people get involved in that?
By just trying to call. It's still days of small beginning. It's not like
it's not up and running, not fully up and running. Okay.
Yeah, it's just early days. But if people wanted to get involved, they would contact Innocent, and he would give them more details, because he's obviously I'm just helping him. I'm just helping him to in any way I can. So, but he's the boss.
Look, I think we've taken up quite enough of your time at this point, Gael. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We are going to try and start the campaign to bring Biggie back home, because I don't think there's a Cov fan in the whole city that wouldn't like to see you back at the club. But I guess more importantly, irrespective of whatever happens in the future, you'll go down in Coventry folklore. That goal at Wembley will never be erased under any circumstances. But more than that is that there's the iconic image of you on your knees on the pitch. There's a kind of an aura around you of being a player that was grateful for everything that he'd got, someone that is from Coventry and a proper Cov lad. And I just think we love you to bits, and just thank you so much for giving up your time tonight and everything that you've done.
Guys, thank you for your time as well, and for listening to my for just giving me an opportunity to just share my heart and share and spend time with you guys. So thank you, and hopefully you guys are protected from this virus, and your families and everyone in the city, and things can get back to normal, and Coventry can get promoted. Not because I want to go back. Well, I would love to, but that's not the reason.
The good news is, mate, Mark might be listening. He's got plenty of time in his hands, so you never know.
We've been surprised recently with people that have been listening, so it's probably out of the question, but it's not totally out of the question. But thank you so much, Neil. Any final thoughts?
Just I got to thank you, Gael. You're an absolute icon, mate. Really appreciate your honesty. Really appreciate you giving us some time, and just more than anything, just really appreciate how much you put into the club while you're here. Love you to bits. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you. Anytime. Catch up soon.
Thanks ever so much, Gael.
Cheers.
Take care. Good night. Bye.